So today we will be starting with the first module of the FC track, which is called a FortiGate firewall. As day one, let's start from the scratch. Okay. So what is the nature of today's attackers? Okay. Next 5 minutes, it's basic. I'll read the points and I'll try to explain the stuffs over there. Okay, with this particular pictures. So what is the nature of today's attackers? Who are these hackers who are trying to break in our computers? Today, malwares, like we're gonna talk big time about the malwares when we will talking about the malware policies and profile in FortiGate firewall. What is a malware? What is a worm? What is virus? What is Trojan? Initiate the vast majority of attacks. Worms and viruses generally find their targets randomly. So according to this Stanford University, they say and they claim that 68 to 70% of attacks, cyber attacks, right, happens randomly. Okay. 68 to 70% of the attacks has happening randomly. Like they just send the malware and whomsoever wants to get connected with that, try to connect it and get infected. So the attacker also doesn't know whom to attack. Okay, that's how it goes basically. So today worms, viruses initiate the vast majority of attacks. Worms and viruses generally find their targets randomly. As a result, even the organization with little or no confidential information needs firewall to protect their network from these automated attacks. So we need a firewall in order to protect your organization, not only for the specific target-based attacks, but also the random-based attacks. Okay? So we need some devices for that. Now the question comes is, what is a security domain? It's an important definition. So the network security engineers, administrator, operators must protect the valuable resources within a network. That should be the agenda. For example, a corporate data might be confidential or critical to the operations of a business, in which it must be kept from the prying eyes and protected from being tampered. To protect these resources, the network must somehow be divided into two portions. One is called as trusted portion, LAN segment, untrusted portion, which is WAN segment. The trusted portion of the network, which is your LAN segment, is called as security domain. And it's an interview question also. What is a security domain? Everything inside the security domain should be protected, everything from the outside world. So basically, this is my internet. We don't trust here. So this is called as untrusted domain. And in this particular domain, your hackers and attackers are generally present. This internet over here, you might be running 3-tier of hierarchy, which is called as core layer, distribution layer, access layer. You might running 2-tier of hierarchy. You can run collapsed core. You can run class architecture, which is called as spine and leaf. That architecture might be running in your organization. So whatever the 2-tier or 3-tier of hierarchy, these are your end users connected to access layer, connected to distribution layer, connected to the core layer. So all the devices, part of on-premises, this is called as your security domain. And we as a network engineers, we are supposed to use one box, one device, and this is what we call as firewall, in order to protect your security domain from the untrusted domain. So the trusted portion of your network, trusted portion of your organization is called as security domain, and security domain should be protected from the internet, from the untrusted. So the trusted portion of the network known as security domain, everything inside the security domain is protected from everything outside the domain, and most common and the effective. So we are talking with reference to this line, designing per se. So the most common best practices, design guides, effective way to implement a security domain is to place a firewall at the boundary level between the trusted and the untrusted. So this is the place where at the internet edge, we call this as. at the internet edge, at the perimeter level. We do what? We deploy a box, and that box is called as a firewall, which provides a protection between trusted and untrusted portion and the paths of the network. What is the basic idea behind a firewall? Those who wanted to understand, right? I'll tell you very basic idea. Assume, I'll take an analogy to explain this particular stuff. Assume that there is a building and multiple floors are there in this particular building. Bob is here and Bob wants to go outside. This is a tea stall or coffee shop. And this is the main gate where security guard is standing. Now you are working in the building. You are working on premises. So 100% you might be having the company's ID card. This guy take the lift, go down. Do you think that this particular security guard guy will going to block Bob in order to reach outside the secure where the coffee shop is there? No. Bob can go out. Bob can have a cup of coffee and can come back easily because it is having a part of ID cards. It's a part of the premises. They know that he belongs to this particular organization. Can come back. Right. But say, for example, if Nitij, being a totally a new candidate, if I'm trying to reach to this particular main gate, the security guard will allow me or will not allow me. For sure, he will not allow me. Why? Because I'm not the part of the security domain. I'm not a part of the premises. I'm not a part of the company. I don't have any ID card. So 100% I will be blocked or 100% I will be stopped at the main gate itself. Then I need to give certain, what you call that, explanation on like who am I, to whom I want to meet, from where I am coming, what time I am coming, right? What is the purpose of visit, and so on and so forth. Whatever the questionnaires bank they have it, they will ask it and make a feed of that. Once the confirmation will be taken by the security guard to this particular Bob that Nitij came to meet you, is it fine? Then yes, if the approval is there, I will be allowed to reach to the reception area, otherwise not. In a very similar way, a firewall has been designed. In the beginning, I'm talking about. So the objective of the firewall is anything from the security domain, anything from the security domain, and it's trying to reach towards the internet. By default, this will be allowed. And one of the best example I can give it to you is ASA firewall, which is Cisco. At that time, they used to work on the concept of security levels. They used to work on the concept of security level. Like the trusted portion will get the highest security level and the non-trusted portion will get the lowest security level. And high to low traffic is always allowed. So security domains are the domains with which the traffic will be allowed towards the untrusted portion of your network. Towards the untrusted portion of your network. And this will be allowed. This is what the main objective of a firewall. But anyone coming from outside world will be dropped by the firewall. Okay. So anyone coming from the outside world towards the security domain, this will be blocked. In order to allow this particular traffic, like this, in order to allow Nitij to meet the Bob, I need to have a form or maybe a register. I'll make an entry of that. Similarly, if any of the firewall, any traffic which is coming from the non-trusted portion or untrusted portion or from outside world or from the WAN world towards your security domain, towards your inside segment, towards might be possible a DMZ zone, this particular ASA firewall or the old ones I'm talking about need an entry, and that entry named as ACLs. So without access list, the things will not be allowed inside the security domain. So this is the basic idea behind the firewall. Two goals were there: to provide the people in your organization with the access to internet without allowing the entire world to peek in. That means your security domain will be allowed to reach to the internet. But from the internet, no one can peek inside because the firewall has a pre-configured policies for that. To erect as a barrier an untrusted piece of software, your organization, public web servers, and the sensitive information that resides on your private network. If you are a service-based company, right? So only the clients will be allowed to reach to that particular server in order to get the services. So that was the basic idea behind any firewall early 2000 when they have deployed it. And that's how it works. But in today's world, when you talk about, right, we don't have this concept of high to low. Even Cisco own product does not have it, like FTD. Now you talk about FTD, you talk about Palo Alto, you talk about our FortiGate firewalls, you talk about checkpoints. All these are next generation firewall will believe on the concept of zero trust policy. They say that let's not have any security level concept. If I have a firewall and predominantly next generation firewall from inside, from LAN towards a WAN, still I need an ACL. Think in this way. If I'm going towards a demilitarized zone, I need still an ACL. From demilitarized zone, if I'm going to the LAN segment or inside. So everywhere around, we need an access list. Don't trust the inside people also. Don't trust the DMZ people also. Don't trust anyone in the WAN. This concept is called a zero trust policy. And now the firewalls are working on zone based rather than security level. There is no such concept of security levels anyhow now. Okay. So this is the basic idea behind the firewalls that we have it. The word firewall is a metaphor. Basically, it's an English terminology. Building architects use firewalls and doors as a precautionary measure to contain the damage. Architect levels, right? When they are building, making any building a work in progress, right? They use firewalls and fire doors. If the fire break out in one zone of the building, the firewall and the fire doors are intent to contain the fires to that zone until the firefighters can extinguish the fire. That's the main concept behind that. Similarly, the network is divided into multiple zones, LAN, inside, DMZ, demilitarized, outside, WAN, and all. So in the network, firewall is intended to control what pass through from one security zone to the another security zone. That's the main concept. That's the main agenda. That's the main goal of the network firewall. So if you take and talk about a basic definition, after 20 minutes, what we learn. A network firewall is a system or a group of systems. The source is Wikipedia, used to control the access between the two networks, trusted and untrusted, using pre-configured rules or the filters. Now, firewall can be hardware. A firewall can be software. Software in the sense you might have heard about and see Windows firewall. A firewall can be a virtual based VM. A firewall can be a hardware. We'll talk about the FortiGate. I'll show you the different entry level, mid level, SOHO level, small office, home office, small, medium businesses, enterprise level, service provider level. Hardwares are also available. Firewall can be done on the routers, zone-based firewalls, single host system, hardware appliances, and so on and so forth. And they vary greatly in design, functionality, architecture, and cost. Question. If I have Windows firewall, okay, if I have Windows firewall in my system, then why I need the Palo Alto, the Fortinet, all these things? Because the functionalities, the architecture are different. Okay, Windows firewall cannot protect the high level things. It is a firewall for the namesake. I'll say that. So higher is the cost. Higher is the high level, they will be defined in the design perspective. The architecture will be much more broader and much more features you will get it over the period of time. Till now, everyone is clear. Are we going good, sir? Good. Just give me 1 sec. Let's talk about the history now. History of the firewalls. In the good old days, 1990s, if you talk about, right, the firewalls predecessors comes into the picture, right? These are the ones which used to come into the pictures. They talk about that, what is a firewall, basic level. In 1990s, the packet filtering firewall comes into the picture. Okay, like packet layer 3, normal layer 3, but these are stateless firewalls. Then comes your stateful firewall. Let's try to understand what's the difference between stateless and stateful. Okay, stateless versus stateful. So think in a way, in old days, I'm talking about 1990 to 2000 because 2000 onwards we got stateful firewall, right? Stateful firewall got it. And I'll tell you in 2025, all devices, any vendor you talk about, it's a stateful firewall. Any device, any vendor you talk about. Okay. So when you talk about stateful firewall, think about like switch slash a hub. What's the difference? Switch is an intelligent box comparatively to the hub. Why? Because switch learns something. What switch learns? It learns the MAC address. It builds the MAC address table. It builds the CAM table. So some intelligence is there in the switch rather than if you compare it to the hub. What hub does? Whenever it receives any Ethernet frame, it broadcasts it all the time. But switch has a broadcast domain concept, which we call as VLAN. Within that particular VLAN, the packet will be flooded for the first time. Not every time. Once it's being learned in the MAC address table, it will not going to do that again and again. Similarly, think about the difference between a stateless and a stateful. The stateless firewalls does not learn anything, but a stateful firewall learns and builds a connection table. Like the switch makes a CAM table, MAC address table, a stateful firewall builds and learns something which is called as connection table. Assuming that there is a stateful firewall, right? And stateless, let's start with stateless firewall. This is SL means stateless firewall. And this is my Bob and this is my Charlie. As I mentioned it earlier, in the good old days, the concept of the security levels were there. So any guy in the security domain, say for example, is Bob trying to reach over the internet towards Alice. So in the good old days, what happens is the traffic from high to low is allowed. Say for example, Bob wants to do telnet or anything related to TCP. So Bob is going to send the first packet, which is called a SYN packet, right? Because the SYN packet is going from the higher security level and towards the lower security level, the SYN packet used to get allowed. But a stateless firewall does not make any entry of that. So when the Alice is going to revert with the packet, which is called as SYN plus acknowledgement, the firewall says that, yeah, I don't know from where this SYN plus acknowledgement is coming, and the traffic is coming from lower security toward the higher security, let me block it. So in that way, the TCP three-way handshake never used to happen. And we all know that until the control plane is not going to be done, the data plane will never come into the picture at all. So that's the reason the stateless firewall was not a huge hit. So from 2000 onwards, when the stateful firewall comes into the picture, it started building a connection table. Stating that, okay, Bob, you wants to reach the Alice, you are sending a SYN packet. Let me make a note of this, that the source is Bob, destination is Alice, TCP they are going, port number is 23, source IP of the Bob is this, destination IP of the Bob is this. An entry has been made. So the moment the return traffic is coming, the moment the Alice is sending the return traffic, SYN message is going. So the traffic is coming from low to high, fair enough. But this is the return traffic which is being initiated from the security domain, right? It's a return traffic of the traffic which is being initiated from the trusted network. So the return traffic should be allowed. And that concept, what's the return traffic is coming, no matter however coming from the lower security to the higher security, will be allowed in order to complete the three-way handshake. Then the last SYN packet will be sent. This concept is called a stateful firewall. Another way I'll try to explain. If this is my stateful firewall, okay? So if Bob is trying to reach to the Alice over the ping, everyone knows that we have ICMP, echo, request. So when I'm sending the ICMP echo request, if it would be a stateless, so if Alice is replying by with called as ICMP echo reply, this reply used to be get blocked. So normal IP reachability also you can't check it on the stateless firewalls because the return traffic is being blocked. That's the reason, with all due respect, the stateful firewall comes into the picture, started building the connection table for the respective things. Point. A switch learns the MAC address. Fair enough. Everyone knows that switch learns a MAC. But this switch which learns the MAC address is not for indefinite times. It's not permanently. If the switch which has learnt a MAC address and that MAC address is ideally sitting for 300 seconds, like 5 minutes, suppose that any traffic is not being initiated by that particular MAC address, this switch is going to flush that entry, delete that entry. This is called as idle timers. In a very similar way, the firewalls also build the connection table. So the entry which is being done in the connection table is not for indefinite times. It will make that entry flush or delete if that particular entry is sitting idle. So similarly for TCP, UDP and ICMP, the timers are there. As we progress, I will let you know about those particular timers. Like FortiGate firewall, for how long the TCP entry will be there in the connection table, how long a session table, how long the UDP entry will be there, how long the ICMP table will be there. It takes time. Post the stateful firewall, the era of 2008, where the Palo Alto, right, where other devices comes into the picture. Cisco came into the picture by 2013. FortiGate started in 2009. The next generation firewall comes into the picture. Now, your traditional firewalls, when you talk about normal firewalls, right, till the 2008, and the most successful firewall till the 2008 was ASA. ASA is capable of doing layer 3 filtering. ASA is capable of doing layer 4 filtering, source IP, destination port, protocol-based filtering. Like you want to allow TCP, UDP and all. ASA firewall is capable of doing the high availability active standby. You can do the virtualization on top of this particular ASA firewall, which concept is called as context. You can work this with AAA. You can do on this particular devices routing. You can do on this particular devices NAT. You can do on this particular devices VPNs. They can work with reference to what? The clusters. So all these particular features has been given by the ASA firewall. But where is the lag? Next generation firewall comes into the picture for that. First of all, this next generation firewall, who invented this term? Who has given this terminology to the world? Next generation firewall naming convention has been given by the company called as Gartner. Gartner is the one who has given this particular terminology, next generation firewall. This Gartner stated that those devices, those vendors, their product, those who can give what? Layer 7 features like file filtering. What is file filtering? A file can be filtered, PDF, PDCs and all. I'm just going to give one-liner definitions. We're gonna learn about all the things which I'm writing as we progress. A next generation firewall should be capable of detecting the malware. A next generation firewall should be capable of doing what? SSL inspection, because most of the traffic are being encrypted. What's the point? If the traffic is encrypted from client to source, what's the next generation firewall is going to do at malware and file filtering? URL filtering, which URL to be filtered. 15th, category-based filtering. 16th, geolocation filtering. 17th, data loss prevention. 18th, deep packet inspection. 19th, what else? Intrusions. 20th, sandboxing. Like any unusual activity in order to avoid attack from zero-day attacks. Right? And like this, so and so forth, many are there. Video filtering, application visibility control, AVC, you can say that. All these are next generation. So from the year of 2008, the terminology next generation started giving to the world. And if you talk about 2025, we are into the era of MI, machine learning and AI. Now it's being started on the big time. If you talk about a Gartner report, I'll tell you, I'll try to show it to you, one Gartner report, how the industry is changing so frequently. So if you see Gartner report, give me a second. So if you see, let's say, for example, this is the Gartner report which I'm trying to pull out. Oh, they have changed it. Hmm. There is a magic quadrant which I'm trying to tell you. Let's see this. Can you see this particular output? This is my Gartner magic. So Gartner gives a magic quadrant. I hope everyone understand what is the meaning of the word called as quad. Quad means 4. So this magic quadrant, which we say that, is predominantly being divided onto two axes, x-axis and y-axis. X-axis means ability to execute. Y-axis means completeness of the vision. So think in a way, you go into the interviews, right? The HR, generally in the HR round, they generally ask one question. Where do you see yourself after 5 years? So what do you generally say? Ma'am, I'll be becoming a subject matter expert or maybe a team leader or maybe the manager I'm looking. What is your vision after 5 years? But after 5 years, again, the committee will sit and check whether you're able to execute that what you have told before 5 years. That is called as ability to execute and completeness of the vision. On the basis of that, all the next generation firewall companies has been ranked on these 4 things. Who all are the companies who are visionaries, those who tells the vision? Who are the new players, niche players? Who are the challengers to the leaders? Simple. So the company like Barracuda, company like Hillstone Stone or Hillstone Networks, these are the visionaries. They say, oh yes, will be doing in this particular quarter this thing. The next year we are going to do this. Next year we are going to do this. But they are not able. They lie down where ability to execution is not there. Vision is perfect. Vision is good, but ability to execute is not there. These are new players in 2022 when I'm talking about AWS, Microsoft, cloud security basically, right? The biggest turnover was in 2022 was Cisco has chugged out from the leaders board for the first time. And in that era, the Fortinet has led the market like anything. Then followed by Palo Alto, followed by Checkpoint. Post that, this is where the layoffs happen. Majority of the layoffs happen in Cisco. And this is the place where if anyone has worked on Cisco boxes, 7.x version has been introduced. Now, if you talk about 2025, Cisco is the leader again. Why? Because Cisco has worked on a hell lot of things on AI and ML. I'll give you a glimpse over there just to give you a certain points down the line. Where is that? My sketchbook. What is this ML and AI? How this is doing? This new concept in artificial and intelligence and machine learning, Cisco has introduced the concept of EVE, not EVE NG. It is called as encrypted visibility engine. It is called as encrypted visibility engine. What is encrypted visibility engine? Encrypted visibility engine basically does few simple steps. See, let me know in the chat how many of you know this concept of SSL de-encryption on any of the next generation firewall. You know, anyone heard about this? What is SSL encryption and de-encryption? SSL offloading. Okay, so what basically it does it, let's try to understand. If I have a next generation firewall and if I have a Bob which is going over the internet towards a server, x.y.com. So we know that the traffic which Bob is going to initiate it is https x.y.com. So end-to-end communication will be encrypted. So any next generation firewall which is in transit will be able to see only layer 3 and layer 4. What is the use of a particular box which you have paid millions of dollars with the licenses, the hardware cost, and cannot be able to do layer 7 at all? Why it is not capable of doing layer 7? Because Bob till the server end-to-end, TLS is doing the encryption, SSL is doing the encryption. That's the reason the next generation firewall comes with the concept of de-encryption, recrypt or decrypt resign. Basically what next generation firewall says that was, Bob, if you want to reach to x.com, first you go through with me, de-encrypt the entire thing. I will now do the thorough checkup of layer 7. On behalf of you, I will re-encrypt it and send it to the server. So two tunnels will be created, A and B. Why it is necessary? If the next generation firewall is not going to de-encrypt the traffic, if it is not going to, how it is going to check layer 7? How it is going to check the payload, whether it's a malware or not, when any anomalous activity is happening or not, abnormal behaviors and all those things. It happens at layer 7, it happens at the payload, right? So in order to see the behavior, in order to see the file filtering, application filtering, payload has to be checked, but payload is encrypted. That's the reason the SSL offloading, SSL de-encryption resign comes into the picture, which is a very good feature. But problem that started is this very good feature which a de-encrypt it, and I'll say re-encrypt it and send it towards the server. It's a CPU intensive process. Just imagine how many sessions are going. If you have 50,000 users in your organization, a firewall will burn up like anything. Each guy is also having a 51 session. Just imagine how much compute resources, how much load is there on the firewall. Encryption and de-encryption is not a piece of cake. It consumes the resources. If Bob itself on its browser has opened LinkedIn, we call as Guild, Google, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, or say for example, Twitter. If these are the open, which is the normal social medias, right? And every guy has open, how many HTTPS session has to be get created and de-encrypted and re-encrypted? So CPU utilization goes very high. That's the reason the ML and AI comes into the picture. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. What AI ML says that they have created so many footprints over the period of time. So any traffic which Bob and server is doing, any traffic, the next generation artificial intelligence based firewall don't have to de-encrypt it. Without de-encrypting, because the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning, the firewall can detect it's a malware or not. And that Cisco has made a patent of that. That's one of the reasons why Cisco is leading the market right now. Over the period of time, Fortinet will also, but Fortinet is not doing that, just to let you know that, guys. Neither the Palo Alto is able to successfully do it. They are doing it a different way, but they have made this as a patent. This concept is called as encrypted visibility control. And only Cisco is giving this particular feature as if now. Here and there, just to come into the market, they will tell, oh yes, we are also doing 40 is also going to the, but not at the level which we call as Cisco FTD Eve. I'm just not going to do tell you in the detail. You can read that particular segment, but this is the feature, encrypted visibility engine. I'm just trying to tell you why this is being important. So you see that I'll just read within very fast. So traffic inspection is one of the most important tools used by the today's firewall. However, the encryption technologies like TLS present challenges to the traditional deep packet inspection, DPI. The inability of inspect packet payloads for encrypted traffic means firewall key capabilities are not available. So de-encryption technologies comes into the picture and they offer the issue like de-encrypted and re-encrypted, and in middle will be able to that. But however, quote unquote, the process of de-encrypting traffic for inspection is a CPU resource intensive process. In addition, enabling the de-encryption significantly reduce the throughput of a next generation firewall. Plus, not all the servers allow you to do that. So if I'm a server administrator, I will not allow anyone to do in man in the middle. There are so many, like I'll tell you, Dropbox. You might have heard about it. Dropbox, if you're trying to do it, if any next generation firewall in there in the transit, they will not allow to de-encrypt the traffic at all. One of the leading examples I'm telling. And there are many privacies and compliances. If you are going to the EU's, European Unions, they again don't allow you to de-encrypt it. For them, it is the most important thing is to save the customer's data, sensitive data. That is called as DLP, data loss prevention. We will learn about it. So it's very difficult or otherwise undesirable to do that thing. So Cisco came up with an idea called as Eve. Eve is a new means of identify the client application and the process utilizing TLS encryption. So basically what they do is, I'll write it over here, read it over here. Through the machine learning technologies, Cisco processes over 1 billion TLS fingerprint footprints and thousands of malware samples daily. And without de-encrypting, you will be able to detect that whether the traffic is a malicious or not. And this is the game changer. So in today's world, if you talk about the ML powered next generation firewalls are coming into the picture. So we started from firewall predecessors. We went to layer 3, layer 4 filtering. We made the particular firewall as a stateful firewall. Then we came into the era of next generation firewall, which is a huge successful hit. But now we are into the artificial intelligence and machine learning world. That's how the firewalls are getting evolved into the world. That's how they are completely working in the world right now. Okay. So what are the new things? How the things are working? When you talk about artificial intelligence based next generation firewall, we used to detect worms, DDoS, vulnerability based Trojan horse, web threat, advanced threat, ransomware. We will talk about all those things. Internet threat, man-to-man or machine-to-machine attacks comes into the picture, and so on. But we have entered into artificial intelligence. So AI firewalls can detect advanced threat. What is implementation? AI firewalls are intelligent because they are doing the machine learning as evidenced by the embedded intelligent detection engine, which detects advanced threat based on the models which they have created. The detection model used by the intelligent detection come from the following: cloud sampling. You see that cloud, external connection channels, encrypted traffic, compromised code, brute force breaking. What is brute force? We'll learn about it, types of attacks, and so on and so forth. And then you have a local learning, unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning is used locally. So basically, in today's world, when you talk about the artificial intelligence and all, these next generation firewalls are generally connected with their cloud. Say, for example, if you talk about a next generation firewall, FortiGate. So what is their cloud called as FortiGuard? Right? A centralized place where all the intelligence comes. If you talk about next generation firewall by Cisco, where their cloud is called as Talos. Right? So nowadays, supervised learning is coming into the artificial intelligence with the help of the cloud, and they have the local databases also there. The local database is also present nowadays. Local supervision with their vulnerability database as well as cloud-based database is also available for that. So if I'll introduce the Fortinet to you by the this is being reported. 2024 is yet to come out because the fiscal year is yet to come out. By March end, they will introduce it. This is the report which I'm telling you in for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, right? So the revenue which is being generated by the FortiGate is 5.30. You can just have a look. Normal things. Founded in the October 12, 2000, very old company. Headquarters at the California. Fortinet IPO is also being released for that. Members of Dow Jones Sustainability Index, they are good, doing good. Nasdaq 100, SP 500, they are present. And operational margin, you can just have a look to that. This is a FortiGate introduction. It's one of the leading companies nowadays. They are doing good. Firewalls, IoT things, securing networks, segmentation, which is called as ZTNA. SASE, they have included artificial driven as well as CyberSoft. They have included in all those particular segments. Then you have a global leader in product growth with the strong growth in the annual billing and the profitability, how they are going. 2009-10, this is the entire graph. They are going slowly up. They are doing wonders. Gap is very high for them in this particular IPOs. I diversified across the region and the segment. These are the quarter reports, like how they are doing in America, EMEA, and APAC region. Point to be noted, as if now in today's world, if you talk about 2024 and 2025, right? Fortinet has sold the highest number of entry-level firewalls across all the vendor, I'll tell you. Compared to FTDs, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Fortinet is doing better. Mid-range, na? Palo Alto has taken it. Palo Alto has taken the mid-range. Again, the high-end, no one can beat Fortinet. I'll tell you, world fastest FortiGate firewall is available in the market. World's fastest, they claim it. So at the service provider, as well as mid-range, you can say Palo Alto. Entry level is Fortinet. Cisco now slowly will come back again. Cisco will take some time in order to reach it. They are hashtag #1 in the enterprise. Top 4 business services, 8 out of 10 in financial services, healthcare and this top 9. Manufacturing, top 9 in retail and wholesale. They are the ratings for them, right? Top 9 in the technologies and telcos and the carrier. How many firewall units has been shipped? As you see that this is again the entry level which I'm talking about. Fortinet has by far proven everyone wrong. Now, why the only 3? Fortinet, Palo Alto and Checkpoint? Because this is the years how we are comparing it. Cisco is always, they never introduced Cisco. So Fortinet, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, they never used to compare with Cisco at all. Right. Similarly, the product revenue, CAGR, you can see that how this is working. Fortinet is going up and up and all. When you talk about the innovations, they are #1 in the innovation. These are the patents. Can you see? I'm not kidding on this. Sources are US Patent Office. By 2024, June 30, the highest number of the patent has been done by Fortinet comparatively to Palo Alto. So 1015 520X, global patent is 1354, US patent is this much only. International patents are there, 452 patents are still pending. That means they're doing something. Their R&D team for the innovation, the investment they have done in the innovation since 2000 is 90%. So they are just putting the entire revenue into the R&D department only. This is the Gartner report, which I've already told you, 2022. 2023, they didn't release. 2024, they didn't release. Now 2025, they will release it. That's how they work it. Now, why the Fortinet as a device? Why the Fortinet as a device are doing wonders? What is the main purpose? Why the Fortinet is going so deep? So when you talk about any of the firewalls, any of the next generation firewall, their heart is their engine. Their heart is their engine. So if you talk about Cisco, what is their heart? 2 engines are there collectively, Lina engine as well as Snort engine. These are the 2 predominant engines which are available. when you talk about the next generation firewall. These are the two engines that we have it. When you talk about the next generation firewall of FortiGate, the engines over here used are ASICs. This is called as ASICs. What is ASICs? Application Specific Integrated Chip or Circuit. So FortiGate is basically an ASIC based security process. SPUs, we say that, SPU. These engines, these hardware accelerated engines are called as SPUs, Security Processing Units. They enhance the speed of the FortiGate, efficiency and the value, and give a very good user experience. It reduces the footprint and the power which needs. So they consume less power also. The three type of major ASICs available in your FortiGate firewalls as a hardware, point to be noted, only on hardware SPUs you will see. You will not see, we have FortiGate as a virtual machine also. Virtual machine is also there, right? So these which I'm talking about are basically all about your, these are with reference to the hardware based. ASICs are always available in hardware. So you have a network processor, we have a content processor, a separate ASIC, and then you have a security processors. How they have evolved over the period of time, you can see over here, there is no explanation. But this is how which year, which version, NP2, NP4, NP5, NP6, like this, NP7. So in today's world, we are talking about NP7 for network process. Content processor is CP9. 9 is the version. 7th version, 9th version, and SP is security process with the 5th. If I talk about what is a content process ASIC, CPU, which we say that, it is generally being used, this is generally being, so basically you have a main engine or ASIC which we call as SPU. This SPU is furthermore divided into two. One is called as NP, one is called as CP, one is called as SP. So the 9th generation of the CP is designed to provide the protection with the processor and resource intensive security processes. This CP in the SPU of the FortiGate ASIC is responsible for intrusion prevention. It is responsible for application visibility control. It is responsible for malware detection. So if someone asks you in the FortiGate, who is responsible to detect the malware? The SPU. Which SPU? Next question. The CP9, 9th generation. It also performs the pattern matching acceleration, fast inspection of the real-time traffic, application identification, file investigation, URL category. All these are related to this particular thing. It is the one which is also responsible for encrypted traffic visibility also, full visibility of encrypted traffic as well as clear text. The another ASIC which we have in the SPU is called as NP6 or NP7. My apologies, 9th generation. Network processing, as the name itself says that it is responsible for IPv4, for routing, for unicast, for multicast, for broadcast, VXLAN termination, NAT, all the routing related things on the firewall, IPsec, threat protection, SSL inspection, all these particular things will be handed over by the NP7. Routing related things. So one is CP, one is SP. Then over the period of time, a new ASIC has been introduced by Fortinet, which is called as SP. SP is basically the combination of both, sir. One single ASIC is for CP, one single chip is for NP, and then they called one SP, which is the combination of CP and NP together. Separately, it is there, and one more is there to offload little bit thing. So CP is for content, application visibility control, malware hitting, and all this. NP is all about routing and VXLAN and all those particular things. If you think that CP is little bit overburdened, similarly, few of the things will be sent to SP because it has the capability of doing SP. Content provisioning. So SD branch, SD WAN, Zero Trust, OT, 5G, Edge Compute, VXLAN can be done on this SP, as well as SD WAN, SSL, next generation malware. So this is my CP, this is my NP. So if your FortiGate is getting overburdened on CP, overburdened on NP, few of the workload can be given to the SP also. So a FortiGate firewall is basically a hardware-based solution generally, which gives you the A6 CP NP combination of two called as SP. And with this, we are signing up for the day. All good, guys. Today's lecture.